I hope I don't sound like a bigot. I know it's been a while since I've posted. You know, we constantly are aware of the Black Lives Matter movement, the Indigenous Lives Matter movement, and of course, their lives matter. Saying Black Lives Matter or Indigenous Lives Matter, it doesn't change the fact that all lives matter. My favorite slogan was "You can't have all lives matter without Black Lives Matter." But just the same, I would like to just bring it to attention that of course, leftist government wants to sort of pay reparations to the black people as well as the just as the indigenous are being paid out as well. Now, my issue comes with that is, what about people with disabilities? How come we have always been discriminated against and people get away with it? No matter, I'm just thinking back, when I first ever tried to get a job, I would get hired and then fired when they reread my application which said I had a disability. Even in every single job I've been in, I've been discriminated because of the disability. Even just the job that I always often sought as the best job I ever had, say one foods job, as a grocery clerk. For 3 years I did the supervisor job without being paid like a supervisor because they said, "Oh, person has a disability, they can't handle it." It's just it bugs me to think that the world is so narrow-minded that they will not consider people with disabilities ever for anything. Where I work, it's again a minimum wage job. Right now, I can't do anything else. With 34% unemployment rate in Alberta, it's just today, for example, I had a migraine, or I kind of alerted the managers, and unfortunately, as a cashier, I had to continue working even though I was struggling to even talk to customers, struggling to look at customers, struggling to even do my job. It's just unfortunately there is no help out there really. There is a subscriber of mine who asks, who even says, if you lived in the States, you'd be taken care of, if you had a disability. But it's just the fact is, when I was 20, I worked about 72-hour weeks. I'm talking about 5 12-hour shifts and one and 2 6-hour shifts. It was a lot of work that I did, and all that money, I put most of that money I saved, put into a savings account. So unfortunately, with that money, I can't, get funded by the government. However, the tricky part comes at, with schizophrenia, as I've mentioned probably in several videos, is schizophrenia is very progressive. I know I'm not nearly as functional as I used to be. I recognize that. I recognize there will come a point when I won't be able to work anymore, and I won't be very functional. I may not even be able to recognize my friends anymore. I know a point will come like that. I know that it's just a rough line ahead. I know my cognition has not declined much, but it has. There's still a noticeable decline. As I approach the age 36, I noticed a decline. My energy is nothing like it used to be. Even just from a year ago, it's nothing like it used to be. I just literally feel kind of just sleeping all day. That's how I kind of feel. I struggle to even go to the gym just with just the thought of having to walk through a crowd to get to the gym. It's there's a lot. But my point is, people with disabilities are people too, and the world, sort of everything is just kind of taken away from the fact that we are people. Just think about the whole lockdown, the whole thing about COVID. Focusing on COVID, what has it done? A lot of people, we hear about the thing about a lot of people have not been able to get their surgeries and all that, necessary surgeries like pacemakers and all that. But what about all the suicides that are happening? The suicide rate has gone up quite a bit just because of COVID, and it's not just simply because, oh, we're scared, it's Armageddon, there's a virus out there. That's not the reason. It's because we can't actually access help. I have not even been able to see a therapist in 3 months, and that's just unfortunately the new reality. I don't want to sound like I'm a genius on this subject, but H7N9, the novel coronavirus, it has about 98% death rate, 98% survival rate, and that is an actual fact. Most people do survive it, but unfortunately, the elderly, yes, they're people too. they are the ones who generally die from it, but they die from underlying reasons due to it. Often it's the case they may have COPD, like chronic bronchitis, emphysema, something like that, and that causes them to pass on. Generally, most healthy people don't die of it, and just unfortunately, like, no, it is something that we have to take seriously. We definitely should all be wearing masks, and we should all be social distancing. But it is the case. Mental health is something that should not be ignored, especially at this time when people are worried about this pandemic, thinking that it's Armageddon. This is the time when people should really be sticking together and really looking after the people with mental illness. As I mentioned, the Schizophrenia Society of Alberta did absolutely nothing. They posted on social media. They're great for everybody. But even I was just with lunch with my friend Colin last Saturday, and he said he wanted to try and understand his nephew better. So he asked the Schizophrenia Society of Alberta what schizophrenia is about, and they couldn't tell him anything. In fact, he learned a hell of a lot more by talking to me in just 5 minutes than he did from them. So I just thought I'd just put it out there. I'm like, sorry, it's like if I sound like a bigot in saying that, pointing out that people with disabilities have always suffered, but yeah, it's just like even it's just in the case of like just a recent job that I lost at Superstore, just because I was going through a lot of stuff, and I understand, kind of my emotions were not all completely intact. I mean, like, I'd barely moved out, and I'd had that fallout with like a life trainer, and a lot of things were going on, and even my coworkers all said it was BS that I got fired, that I did a better job than most people, and that I shouldn't have got fired. But it's just that due to the fact that I have this mental illness, I can't fight back. Because I mean, they'll say, "Oh, we fired for this reason, not for a reason that is related to the illness." And that's unfortunately, I'm not the first person. I'm not the last person. It's going to continue happening just for the dawn of time. We're never ever going to actually learn from our mistakes. That people with disabilities lives matter too, and unfortunately, that's reality. Like, that's reality for you. There is really no help for people with disabilities. As much as I wish I could be just born normal, so to speak, there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to live with this. I just have to understand that, eventually, the things are only going to get worse from here. Anyway, thanks for watching.